Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday. And Tuesday, everybody knows what that is. That's cardiac rehab day. Where I go because I'm considered the young buck because most of the women there are probably mid to late 70s into their 80s. So the main thing I have to worry about is cougars and compression socks. Alrighty, so what are we talking about today? Reasons to get into business and reasons not to. And this is just my take. Don't take it as gospel because I will fully admit I do not know everything, and most of the time I feel like I know nothing. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. If you didn't already know it, yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, the 28th of October, 2025. So, what are good reasons to get into business and what are not? It's, I call it a motivating factor. You know, I mentioned yesterday that if you believe in yourself and you believe in the vision that you see, and you have naysayers saying to stop, a lot of times, as long as you can see the end result, I would always encourage you to keep pushing on because getting outside of that charted ground of where everybody feels that this is the only way you can do business is crap. Actually, finding your own path is a better route than doing what everybody else is trying to do. You know, it's like selling ice cream. You decide you want to get an ice cream truck and you sell ice cream. Now, if you're the only person on the block selling ice cream, you're going to probably turn out all right if it's got a bunch of kids on it, right? But it probably isn't a good idea if there's 9 other ice cream trucks already in that block. And most of the people that are there are 65 and older. They eat less ice cream than kids. Common sense has a lot to do with it. It's not only having a vision, but seeing is it saturated. And I see a lot of people do that. They'll go into a saturated market because Joe Schmo made millions doing it. Well, he was first and the mostest. And that's normally the case. Is with my business, I was first with the mostest, and we did well. Now, try that same thing right now, and it's not going to work. Why is that? Because the market is so saturated with Chinese sellers and other dealers trying to unload their stuff because they're trying to get out from underneath it at below what they paid for it. It's not really good common sense, is it? Does that mean that I can't replicate what I did but go into a different area that isn't being saturated? Would that be viable? And the answer is yes. It's all about having, what's the right word? You know, not only are you first with the mostest. When I say first with the mostest, that means you're the first one. It means that you're in uncharted ground. You're where nobody else is. You're the first one there. Okay? You're the first ice cream truck there on the block. You're going to do good if you're the first one on the block selling ice cream, right? But if a bunch of other people start looking at you and saying, well, shoot, Joe Schmo, he's making good money selling ice cream. We should try to do the same thing. So 2 or 3 other people go out and buy trucks and start selling ice cream next to Joe. Now what happens? Now you've got competition, okay? Joe would be in the firstest and the mostest, is going to get some bump in the crowd because he was there before everybody else and he's already established certain customers, right? And they come to him. If he's treated them well, they're going to come back to him. But what happens if the other ice cream trucks lower their prices by 10 cents? That's going to sway half the people right there. Well, it's cheaper over here, So either Joe Schmo's got to drop his prices 10 cents or risk losing business. And that's what I mean by race to the bottom. Is if you have more than one ice cream truck in that vicinity and they keep lowering their prices, trying to outdo the other, they will push themselves to the point where nobody's making any money. That's race to the bottom. But we're talking about reasons to get into business, right? If I talk to somebody and they tell me that money is the main motivator to get in becoming self-employed, first thing I'm going to tell you is you might better stay working for somebody else. Your guaranteed wage, health insurance, the package they give to you for dental and medical and all the other stuff, than to go out on your own. Because when you get out there on your own, you can't afford to have these packages for the most part, can you? Especially when you're just trying to build a business. What you get from working for somebody else, if they have a package, I'm trying to think of the right word. This morning is going crazy here. When you're self-employed, most of the time you don't have those other viable things to look at that you would be if you were working for somebody else, especially a bigger company, health benefits and all that. Money is not going to push you over the top. Because if you're constantly have your eye on the money, you're missing the most important thing anyways, and that's the journey to get there. And when I say the journey to get there is how you need to slow it down enough so you can understand why and how you got to where you're at. And turn those bad experiences of things that, didn't work out. And I tell people, don't allow a place and time to define you. You're better than that. It's those things of where life lessons, of where you hang with the wrong people, so you got guilt by association. That's a learning life lesson. And the quicker you learn that, the better off you're going to be. If you don't learn from it, you're going to keep repeating it until what? Until you do. Or you crash and burn. Business is the same way. You need to learn and understand how things work and when they work, why they worked. And what didn't work is more important than what did work. Right? Because you don't want to repeat the stuff that doesn't work. You might be able to tweak something, revisit it and say, what did I do wrong that made it in the negative column? You might find the answer right there that would turn a negative into a positive. That's not only life, but that's business. Your main goal, if you want to be self-employed and start your own business and keep it going, is the pride that you take in it and wanting to see it through. Wanting to see where it can go. For some people, and each of us are different, all right? Some people are going to be very satisfied with one business and, making a decent income and keeping their employees, the health benefits and all that stuff and doing well, okay? Where others are not going to be. They're going to get bored of it and they're going to want to do something else. What ends up happening is when that head of the business, the guy that got it to where it is, if he gets bored and he wants to go do something else, what happens? It gets put into somebody else's hands that didn't build the business. It's there to manage the business and is going to do things differently than the one that built the business. Not everybody is destined to build a business, to be self-employed. There's no give in there. So if you don't succeed, don't think it's a negative thing. It's very few actually achieve the end result. And that's because people give up too easily, or they get to a plateau, they get bored, and they move on. And the business crumbles behind them. For those guys that are like that, I always encourage them to just do another startup in the same arena. If you're doing small engine repair and you got a business going and it's doing very well, and now you feel like it's boring and mundane, the better part would be to start up a second one. It would be. If you got plenty of business at the first one and everybody's happy and business is churning and you start to falter, go start another one, but don't lose your eye on the ball in the first one. You have to coddle each one. But that will give you something to give you a challenge. But you also have to come at it that you have to take care of the first one first and then work on the second one, if that makes any sense. The biggest reason people don't succeed in business is because they give up. They don't see things through. And Amos, you posted it here about a year ago. The success rate is less than 5% that ever materialize. You know, I've had over the years friends that decided that they try to get into these pyramid type businesses. And the only ones that make any money are the ones at the top. I'm telling you right now. If you can get a bunch of people to start selling for you and they're good salespeople, then you get a percentage of their sales, right? But that's relying on them to do what you hope they would do. It's not about how good a salesperson you are. It's how good a person you are to get a bunch of people willing to work underneath you and give you a cut of what they sell stuff for. And we can take makeup, for instance. You know, a $10 makeup thing, and they're selling it for $150, rebranding it so that everybody can get a cut on it. And is a customer getting a better quality product? Probably not. Amway used to be the same way. There were a ton of different businesses that I looked at that are pyramid type. You know, you have the first person, then you have the structure down, then you have the structure down. And it kind of reminds me of that one thing they had going on. This was a gazillion years ago. But you sent, what was it, 10 $1 bills to 10 people, and then, I'm trying to think of how that, but in the end, you still lost money. And I think I've said it here on the channel. I don't gamble. The only one I put money on is myself as far as looking for a winning horse, because I know what my capabilities are. And I know, is it worthwhile to me? I can identify, is it worth my effort to want to do it? And one thing I've noticed that since the open heart surgery is my cognitive still isn't there. So my Claude laughs at me, but I can only focus on one thing at a time. If he tries to add anything else into it, it just causes me to just stop. I can't do more than one thing. And sometimes it drives him nuts, but if you leave me to my own devices, if I can tackle a lot of stuff during the day, but I'm going to do it one thing at a time. If I'm going to do firewood, then I'm going to do firewood. If I'm going to get cows the hay and put it out in the pasture with the wagon, I'm going to do that. And then I check it off as I'm getting it done. I've learned to navigate it, let's say that much. I'm doing less takes. I'm learning how to try to put garbled into something that resembles something that people watching these videos, like, he's handicapped, right? Yeah. Even prior to the surgery, I was handicapped in the head, anyways. You have to decide what is the best reason for you, and if it's strictly money, don't even bother. If it's you see a vision, you see something that you really want to aspire to be, there's no guarantees as long as you know that. Keep your day job while you're doing it. You know, I said it over and over and over again on this channel for youngsters getting into it or retirees. Do it as debt free as you can. I like the feeling that I can just if I want to stop doing it today, all I got to do is lock the doors and close it. I don't owe anybody anything that's down there in that shop. It's all bought and paid for. It is. That's the goal of it. You don't need a lot of inventory if you're doing service work. There's certain things, certain oil filters, spark plugs, pretty common stuff that you can have in your inventory, not be big money. Or you can do it piecemeal. And that is as you need it. You're going to pay a little higher premium because shipping. Every time you put an order in, it costs money to have it shipped to you. So the more I try to at least have a $200 order, and I'll add in common stuff to that order that I need. And that goes, especially like right now, chainsaw chains, we actually get reels of it, 25-foot rolls, and we make up chain here at the shop on the side. And we also buy it already made, pre-cut in packaging. So I'll always add in a couple extra bars and chains and stuff like that are common coming into this time of year where people are... You have the group of people that get log links, right? And they'll go out and cut on it all summer long. So you have those guys during the summer. And I do chain sharpening too with the file and the grinder. Whichever one is the quickest for how many chains I'm looking at. But the bulk of the people in this area, they wait till fall, winter to get firewood. And they're getting firewood for next year. They've already got this year's firewood all put up. I'm the slow one. I'm cutting dead trees around because I didn't get any live trees on the ground last fall. Of course, I was sick. So I've got a couple more loads and the woodshed will be full. What am I going to be doing? I'm going to start dropping trees, what we call hard ironwood. The only thing it's good for is firewood. And I'll tell you, it burns long, hot, and you always have a bed of coals in the morning when you come in. So I'll find a stand of that, and I'll start cutting those down right now. And then next spring, once it dries up enough, I'll start cutting that wood up into firewood. Or, depending on how much energy I got, I'll keep cutting and bringing that wood out and piling it for next year. That way, I've got good seasoned firewood. So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go for today's Tuesday. In the comments, what are reasons to start a business and what are reasons not to, I guess is the right way to put today's video. I can think of 10 right reasons and I can think of 100 wrong reasons. But once you've been there and you've succeeded, you have a better outlook looking back, and if you understood what you did right, if you pushed through it and you just became, doing well, and you don't know how you did it, then you've lost a lot of what makes you what you are. To me, anyways, I was gauging myself every step, and I learned a lot. I learned what not to do. You guys have a great Tuesday.